I just want to talk about what God's been doing in the last 6 months of my life. So it's not like my life story, but... So I grew up in a Christian home and I felt God's presence from a very young age, and I gave my heart to him when I was very little. I always knew that he had a plan for my life. I knew I could trust him through the undeniable encounters that I had had with him. But as I entered high school, I strayed away from God. I got into drinking, drugs, partying, and just all the stuff that comes with that lifestyle. But throughout all of this, I still believed in God, and I knew that his hand was on my life. But I was living for myself. I would draw close to him when I was struggling and when I had problems. But as soon as I felt better, I would stray away again. And this cycle continued pretty much throughout my whole life. So in Revelation 3:15, it says, "I know what you have done. You are neither hot or cold. I wish you were hot or cold, but since you are lukewarm and not hot or cold, I'm going to spit you out of my mouth." And so I have read that verse so many times throughout my life, and I kind of chose to ignore that one because I knew that I was very much lukewarm. So I was a fence sitter. I wanted the best of both worlds. I wanted to live my own way, but deep down I knew that God's way was so much better. The world had a really strong grip on me. In 2 Timothy 2:13 it says, "If we are unfaithful, he remains faithful." And yeah, I just love that verse because I know that I walked away from God so many times, but he remains faithful. Like, oh my goodness, I am so thankful to God. So just about a year ago, I moved in with my dad. I'm sure you all know who he is. I was a bit hesitant as I had never lived with him before. And I'd spoken to a few of my friends about it, and every single one of them said, "Don't do it." However, I knew that God wanted me to do it. So I listened. Little did I know that this would be a massive stepping stone in my faith journey. And not only would this bring a lot of restoration to my relationship with my dad, but it would also ignite a fire in my heart for God. Through a few months of living with him, my church attendance had become more consistent. It definitely wasn't perfect, but it was the best it had been for a long time. And Alexa is also my neighbour, so I was like surrounded by Christians. And every time I go outside, Alexa would be there, and and she'd always say, "So I'll see you Sunday?" And I remember so many times I'd say, "Yeah," but then I just wouldn't go. Anyway, so yeah, my church attendance was better. So at this point, I felt like, so I was on the fence, and then I felt like I was tipping over to God. And it was really exciting, but as I felt this, I really felt the enemy really trying to pull me back the other way. And it was like a real war in my head. And yeah, it was really, I can't really explain it. But I was talking to a friend from this church. Oh, she doesn't go here anymore, Cameron. And she really said some words to me that I'll never forget. She said, "Layla, you are living in fear. You are fearful of saying yes to God because you don't know what it looks like. And you don't want to leave your life behind. But let me tell you, you will not lose your life at all. In fact, you will gain a new life in Jesus that is so much better." Yeah, so good. And what she said really reminded me of the verse in Matthew that says, "If anyone desires to come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever desires to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it." So then I felt the Lord prompt me to join the worship team. My initial response was, no way. That means I'll fully have to commit to God and leave my life behind. And I'm just not ready for that. The more I thought about it, the more I leaned towards not wanting to do it. I felt God say to me, if you're not ready now, you'll never be ready. And I really hung on to the words that Cameron said to me of that. Well, I was just living in fear and I was scared. And I just knew that I just had to join and God would figure it out. All I had to do was say yes to God's invitation. And as soon as I stepped out in faith and said yes, God showed me some amazing things. First of all, he showed me that I didn't need to be ready. Second, I realized I was holding on to all these worries that were holding me back from God's will. It was as if I had to fix all these worries in my life before I could join the worship team. And then lastly, God told me that all he needed from me was my yes, my obedience to his call. And this actually made everything so much easier. Like I just had to put it into his hands. Joining the worship team was a massive game changer for me and another big stepping stone. Once I made this decision, so many flesh desires fell off me. I finally felt that I was walking in the Spirit and that I had been reborn again. Yeah. Such a surreal feeling. And this was just the beginning. I then started attending Alexa's Red Letter Ladies group. Funny name. Sorry. At this group, Denise told her amazing testimony. The whole time she was speaking, I was on the verge of tears. My heart was beating so fast and I was overheating. And when all these three things are happening, I know that the Holy Spirit is really speaking to me. And so Denise's testimony was just pretty much how she was involved in like a lot of new age things growing up. And I really related to that because from about 18 to literally a year ago, I went to a lot of like hippie festivals in the bush, like raves, and yeah, it was like quite intense. And and I never like participated in the new age things, but I was fully in the environment of it and surrounded by it, and I just felt that the enemy really, that was a door for him to come into my life and make a space in my life. And I really felt that when I said yes to God, the enemy was like, she is not on the fence anymore. And he really used those things to get in my head. And I still felt a real stronghold from him. And when Denise was talking about how, she was into all of that, I just like knew that I needed prayer for this. So the ladies got around me and they prayed for me, and Denise just said, I want you to renounce these things and I want you to like speak it out. So I did that, and it was so powerful, and I started speaking in tongues, and it was really amazing. And just like, I had spoken in tongues before that, but it's kind of intimidating doing it in front of people. So it was just, yeah, that was a miracle in itself that I was just doing that. And yeah, just experienced total freedom that day. And when it was finished and I walked out of Alexa's house, my mum was just parked out the front, which was totally random. And like, she doesn't really come over unannounced. And she was like, I've got the day off. Do you want to go out for lunch? And I just happened to have the day off. So we went out for lunch and I was able to just share with her everything that had happened that day. And, oh, it was such a God day. Like, he just orchestrates moments and, yeah, it was really amazing. So that's all I've got written. But, yeah, thank you.